So, how you feel about this You gotta show and take it like you did, nigga. I should walk, even your own people gon' get told. And the Lord said my name, so you better keep it on.
All right, shalom to the brothers. Yahweh Shamar Latan Ba'ashim Yahushai, Officer Shagapan of the Israelite School of Universal Practical College. Started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, in 1969. And under Commandant General YAHANNA, we've been taking over this earth, bringing the truth to so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Americans, letting them know who they really are, according to that is the 12 tribes of Israel, and letting the word of God flood this entire earth, so that way our people can wake up and the Lord can bring our King back to rescue us. All right. And today, like always, is Wednesday. This is the law class, and today we're going to go into something very specific, right? Because with being given the law also comes with hearing the law, accepting the law, hearkening to the law, listening to the law, taking heed, making sure you obey, right? You do what's being commanded to you, right? So as Black, Hispanic, and Native American people, we have a habit of sometimes going for advice. We have a habit of going to get instructions or getting counsel, and we might go against the same advice that is being given to us to save our lives, because the law was given to us to save our lives. Whenever Moses spoke to the people, it was to save the people's lives. Whenever Jeremiah spoke, Ezekiel spoke, Zechariah spoke, whenever our King Christ spoke, it was to save our people's lives. So when we go and get counsel, get instruction, get correction, get advice, try to find out what's the best decision to make, we have to understand that it's coming from the man of the Lord who's obeying the laws of God, which is what we have to start doing. All right. So first I want us all to go to Deuteronomy chapter 27 verse 1, right? And like the title says, obeying instruction and obeying counsel would definitely save all the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans and Yonkers, but the entire earth wherever we are. All right. Let me get Deuteronomy chapter 27 verse 1, please.
This is Deuteronomy 27 and 1. And Moses with the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you this day.
Right. So this was the first and one of the very first instructions that we were given as a people. Right. When we fled out of Egypt, when we were trying to establish ourselves. Right. Moses and the elders. Moses and the elders. The people ruling, the people who have the wisdom, the people who have the zeal for the Lord, who do what the Lord says, right? They gave, say it again.
Keep all the commandments.
Start from the beginning, Baba Shah.
From the beginning. And Moses with the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying.
They did what?
Saying.
No, they did what?
Commanded the people, saying.
They commanded. Right? They commanded us. They commanded everyone that was in the wilderness with them. And we're going to find out what they commanded us to do. Speak.
Keep all the commandments.
Keep what?
All the commandments.
Keep all the commandments. Right? Now there are over 600 laws, statutes, and commandments, right? Some of them apply today, especially if you own land. Some of us apply today, especially if you have a wife, or if you have a husband, or if you have kids, but there are fundamental laws and commandments that apply to everyone, right? And we are to keep all the commandments. Whatever commandment applied to you, that's the commandment you were to keep. Now, when you want to go and seek advice, or get instruction, or get correction, or get wisdom, or get understanding, you would have to have gone to Moses or to one of the elders to get this instruction, this correction, this advice, this this counsel, because these men, Moses and the elders, were men of the Lord, and they kept the law. So whatever they commanded at the end, whatever they instructed at the end, whatever advice they gave you at the end, you have to know that it came directly from the Lord. Because these were men that obeyed the Lord. These were men that gave instruction on how to carry out the laws, that told us to carry out the laws, that themselves lived their lives obeying the laws, statutes, and commandments of God, right? Now in 2021, right? We as a people don't know who we're supposed to turn to. And that's why the Lord has established the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, right? And back then, we were called many different things, right? We were called, priests, which we still are, prophets, which we still are, men of the Lord, which we definitely are. But before that, we were called something else. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 9.
John.
Well, let me see if there's any questions, any comments. Okay, all right, let's go. Publisher.
1 Samuel 9:9. Before time in Israel, when a man went to inquire of the Most High, so like the power, thus he spake, come and let us go to the seer. For he is now called a prophet, was before time called a seer.
Can you please read that one more time?
From the top?
Yep.
Before time in Israel, when a man went to inquire of the power.
Hold on. So before time, when our people, right, we went to inquire of the Lord. Right? We wanted to go get wisdom from the Lord. We wanted to go get advice from the Lord. We wanted to get counsel, get instruction, right? So that way we can best do what will be the best decision. And the way we did this was, we didn't go directly to the Most High God. We ended up going to a specific person to inquire of the Lord. Please read.
Thus he spake, come and let us go to the seer.
The what?
The seer.
A seer. Keep going.
For he that is now called a prophet was before time called a seer.
So a seer is a prophet. Today we're called priests and prophets of the Lord. Back then we were called seers, right? A seer. Because when people wanted to know what they should do, when they wanted advice from the Lord, when they wanted to make the best decision, and they wanted to inquire of the Lord, they went to go see a seer. They went to go see a prophet. So all you men, women, all you Black, Hispanic, and Native American women, men and women and children living all over the earth, especially in Yonkers, if you ever want to know what the Lord wants you to do, you need to come see a prophet. When you want to know if the Lord wants you to buy that new 2021 Nissan Rogue or whatnot, or spend it on a new house for you and your family, why don't you go inquire of the Lord? When you want to know if you should sleep with that woman that you see constantly, why don't you go inquire of the Lord? Why don't you come see a prophet? Come see the men in the I.S.U.P.K. Why don't you dial up Officer Shalayala's number that's in the details of this video. Why don't you send Officer Shalayala an email, because that is a prophet. He is a seer, and that is the person that you should go inquire of the Lord to, because he's the man that has been instructed by the Lord to raise up Yonkers. And if you want the best advice, the best instructions, the best counsel of the Lord, you need to go see that prophet, Officer Shalayala, who's raising up Yonkers in the name of the Lord. All right? Let's move on. So never do things without counseling the Lord. Right? And we're going to get some scriptures on that too. Because whatever the Lord wants you to do, that's his law, that's his command. So whatever this prophet is telling you is definitely what the Lord wants you to do. All right? Let's see where else we should go here. Let's go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 6, verse 6. You can find this in what you would call the Apocrypha. I'll show you. Along with having a King James authorized Bible, not a New King James, a traditional King James Bible, you definitely want something like this, a King James Apocrypha. Because this will have all the books in it that were taken out of the 1611 King James Bible. And for anyone that's watching the YouTube video, is looking very digitalized, very pixelated. You can always go onto Facebook. I'm gonna put the link in there. I'll put the link in right now. You can just click on that link and you can watch it on Facebook because it's giving you a much clearer image. All right, everyone watching on YouTube, you can go right along and watch it on Facebook. Okay. So Ecclesiasticus chapter 6, verse 6, right? Chapter 6, verse 6. All right, please read.
Ecclesiasticus 6 and 6. Be in peace with many. Nevertheless, have but one counselor of 1,000.
All right, let's read this one more time.
Be in peace with many.
All right, so we know that today's topic is instruction, correction, advice, counsel. It's saying be at peace with many. Be kind to everyone. Kind, respectful to everyone, right? But you don't have to go telling everyone your business.
Yeah.
You don't have to go telling everyone your problems. You don't have to go tell and speak to everyone to see what their advice is on a particular subject that you care about. Keep reading.
Nevertheless, have but one counselor of 1,000.
But have one counselor. I think it's one L or two L's.
Yeah, one L.
One L. Have one counselor, right? You don't need Shaniqua to tell you what you should do about your relationship. You don't need your homeboy Juan to tell you whether or not you should move cocaine or just keep working at the bodega. You don't need Shaquem to tell you if you should start going into Islam or the Catholic Church. You don't need Maria to tell you that you should choose her over the girl that always that's always quiet and shy and respects her parents when Maria's a thought. You don't need all these different counselors. You need one counselor. One person that's going to tell you, listen, you shouldn't go with Maria because Maria's a whore. She don't know how to keep her legs closed. You should go with that girl named Ashley because she's always in the house, always staying out of trouble, always respecting her parents, right? You don't need to listen to Jose who's telling you to determine whether you should sell drugs or just do an honest days of work in the bodega. You should have one counselor of the Lord that's going to tell you the right decision. Listen, cocaine is going to, one, get you killed. You're going to end up killing and poisoning your neighborhood. People are going to come after you because of money. That's not what the Lord wants you to do, right? You need to have one counselor. You don't need all these other people in your business knowing if you should do this, that, or the third. You should have one person, all right? We're going to go to verse 2.
Verse 2. Extol not thyself in the counsel of thine own heart, that thy soul be not torn in pieces as a bow straying alone.
All right, let's read this one more time.
Extol not thyself.
It says, extol not yourself. Right? Keep going.
In the counsel of thine own heart.
Extol not yourself when you think you're giving yourself your own advice. Now, what does the word extol mean? Can we get this, Abijah? Extol. Extol not yourself in the counsel of thine own heart. Never mind. Next time, just use your phone, all right? Extol, right? To praise highly, to glorify. You should never think that the advice you give to yourself when you're sitting in your room on the chair smoking a blunt and you're thinking whether you should make this new move, sell this new pack, whether you should start being more respectful to your mother and father. You should never think that you have the best advice. You should never think to yourself, the advice you give to yourself when you're talking to yourself, that's the best advice. Never extol yourself, right? Right. So extol means to highly praise. For anyone that doesn't know, extol is to highly praise, right? Or to glorify. You never want to praise your own advice that you give to yourself when you're in the dark speaking to yourself. That's just ridiculous. How you cannot give yourself advice. You should not glorify yourself thinking that you came to the best decision when you only talk to yourself and stare at yourself in the mirror, trying to see what was the best decision to make. Extol not yourself. Keep going.
In the counsel of thine own heart, that thy soul be not torn in pieces as a bull straying alone.
You know what happens to a bull? That's wandering. Well, the bull doesn't have a master, no shepherd. For guidance. There's no one to guide that bull. Right? What happens? The bull ends up destroying things, right? Causing destruction. The bull's wandering by himself and says, you know what? I think eating out of this cabbage patch would be a good idea because then I won't be hungry no more. And then what happens? The farmer comes out, the hunter comes out, and they go and hunt and kill the bull. Right? The bull has no instruction. The bull has no guidance. So know what happens? It gets other animals, kill the bull. Lion, tiger, bear, pack of wolves, right? When you give yourself your own correction, when you give yourself your own instruction, when you give yourself your own advice, your own counsel, you actually have no guidance because you're guiding yourself to fail. You're causing destruction because you're going to end up making the wrong decision. You're going to get yourself killed because by making your own decision, you can anger other people. Other people want to cause you harm, and you end up getting killed. So you get torn apart like a bull. Read that the last part again.
Sure. that thy soul be not torn in pieces as a bull straying alone.
So when you're straying alone, you can fall victim. You have no guidance. You can get into mischief. This is what happens. You never want to give yourself your own advice. You never want to stare in the mirror in your projects, in your bathroom, saying that you're the greatest, thinking that if you do this instead of that is going to lead to greatness for you. You never want to puff yourself up, because what's going to happen is you're going to be torn apart like a bull that's just wandering by himself. You have no one to guide you. Back in the wilderness, we had Moses and the elders to guide us. We had Jeremiah to guide us, Ezekiel to guide us. We had Christ to guide us, Paul, James, Luke, Matthew to guide us. And now the I.S.U.P.K has been established since the 60s to guide our people, so that we're not torn apart like a bull that's by themselves. If you have an issue, if you have a problem, if you have a question, if you want to know what is the right thing to do in life, don't extol yourself. Don't think you should talk to yourself staring in the mirror, drinking a cup of Hennessy, smoking a blunt, and coming to the best conclusion by yourself is the right decision, because it is not. You're just going to be like a bull torn apart because it's wandering by himself. You need to go seek the men of the Lord in the I.S.U.P.K. All right? Now, let me see if there's any more questions. Facebook. Okay. All right, let's go to verse 18.
18.
Gather instruction. Abadi, hold on. We're going to go to verse 18, all right, everyone? All right, we're now in verse 18. Abadi, please read.
18. Gather, my son, gather instruction from thy youth up, so shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age.
These are some wise words from the Lord, right? You might hear a father say this to their son, just like the Lord says it to all of Israel, because we're all Israel. We're all the children of the Most High God. Right? So read it again.
My son, gather instruction from thy...
Gather what?
Instruction.
We need to gather instruction. Instruction comes from the law, the commandments, the statutes. Instruction comes from going to the people, the men of the Lord, who are going to give you this law, who are going to give you this instruction, who are going to give you this advice, this counsel, right? Keep going. From the what?
From thy youth up.
From your youth and up. So from when you're a kid all the way to you're a grown man, you should always gather instruction. You should always seek advice. You should always seek counsel. You should always want to get correction. You should always want to bring your concerns to a man of the Lord, because they're going to guide you correctly. They're going to give you the best advice. And it's not just like someone else might give you good advice, someone else might give you. It's none of that. This is the best advice. The only advice that should matter. The advice that comes directly from the Lord, because it's not going to steer you astray. It's not going to put you in harm's way. It's not going to be for that person's gain or advantage over you. It's going to be because the Lord is allowing that man to give you the information that you need from the Lord. Whether it's who you should marry, what kind of job you should get, whether it's if you should do this, that, or the third. You should always gather this instruction. Always gather this correction. Keep going.
So shalt thou find wisdom till thine old age.
And right, when you get old, right, when you get old, you don't have wisdom. Because all this instruction that you've been getting since you were a child, all this correction that you've been getting since you were a child, when you finally age of being an old elderly, you have received so much wisdom. You'll be able to tell children the same instruction you received when you were young. You'll be able to tell teenagers the same instructions that you received when you were a teenager. You'll be able to tell men who are trying to decide on what kind of woman they should be. You can give them the best instruction, the best advice, because when you were a man trying to find out what was the best decision to make, you received that decision from a man who was wise. And now you're able to give that same instruction, that same guidance, that same advice to those who are in their youth and up. And this is why instruction is so important. This is why advice is so important. Counsel is so important. Because you want to make sure that whoever's giving you this instruction is giving you the instruction, the advice, the correction, this counsel is coming directly from the Lord. And then if this person is not obeying, if this person is not living their life according to the law, statutes, and commandments, this person is not fit to give you wisdom. This person is not fit to give you instruction or correction or counsel, right? All right, we're going to move on to verse 23. Baba Michelle, please read.
Count 23. Give ear, my son. Receive my advice and refuse not my counsel.
That is so important here. Please read that again.
Give ear, my son.
Listen. Called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American men need to listen to this very carefully. Because the nation can change. We say that if it starts with us. Not saying that the women don't need to. All you black, Hispanic, and Native American women, y'all need to listen extra. But for the men out there, you need to what?
Give ear, my son.
You need to listen. Just like you listen to your boys on the corner when they slinging dope and smoking a blunt. Just like you listen to your coach on your basketball team or baseball team. Just like you're listening to your white manager who owns the store that you work at Burlington Coat Factory, right? When it comes to God, you need to listen. You need to give your ear over. When it comes to instruction, you need to listen. When it comes to correction, you need to listen. When it comes to advice, you need to listen. When it comes to getting counsel, you need to listen. Keep going.
Receive my advice.
What?
Receive my advice.
Receive this advice. Receive this instruction. Receive this correction. Receive this counsel. You need to listen to what's being told to you. Because the man of the Lord that's giving you this advice, he's not giving it just because. He's giving it because he's in a position where it is his duty. It is his obligation as a man of the Lord to give you the advice that you need to make the right decision, to live a better life. You need to listen and receive that advice. Take that advice. Don't just throw it away. Don't just say whatever. This man don't know what the hell he's talking about. He does know what he's talking about. This man sat there, stood there, listened to you and your problems. He listened to you. And because he actually listened to you, he gave you the best advice that you need. So what you need to do to stop selling drugs is to listen. What you need to do to stop sleeping with other men's wives is listen. What you need to do to stop being a punk and a coward and actually start to stand for your people is to listen. Because right now you're receiving advice. Right now you're receiving exactly what the Lord wants all you black, Hispanic, and Native American men and women to receive, which is advice from the Lord, correction from the Lord, instruction from the Lord, counsel from the Lord. Keep going, Baba Michelle.
And refuse not my counsel.
And what?
Refuse not my counsel.
Don't refuse the Lord's counsel. You think I'm just here for my benefit with a webcam and a whiteboard and markers I gotta replace every now and then, and this dry erase thing that I don't really like too much? You think I'm just standing here for my own benefit? I'm not gaining anything but doing what the Lord wants. That's the only thing I'm gaining. I'm hoping to gain the Lord's favor by making sure I give you the correct counsel, by making sure I tell you exactly what the Lord wants you to hear. And that's the only thing that I can gain. So you need to listen. You need to receive this advice. And don't refuse the Lord's counsel. If I'm telling you not to sleep with whores, it's because in the Bible, one of our ancestors wrote not to sleep with whores because the Lord told him not to sleep with whores. If I'm telling you not to sleep with white women or Asian women or Arab women because they will lead to your destruction, it's not because I'm jealous that you can sleep with a white woman or an Asian woman. It's because when I open up our history book, the Bible, I saw that men were told not to sleep with strange women. And when they did, they made mistakes and they destroyed our people. So you know what? Guess what? I want you not to sleep with strange women. Because if we don't sleep with strange women, we can regain our culture back. We can regain our identity back. We can be one as a people again. And that's because I listened to the men in these books. I received the advice that the men before me wrote 2,000, 3,000, 1,000 years ago, and I did not refuse the words that they wrote in this book for me today, for you today, because it all comes from the Lord. The Lord is the one that wants you to listen to him. The Lord is the one that wants you to receive his advice, receive his instruction, receive his correction, receive his counsel, and do it. It's not that difficult to stop sleeping with white women. It's not that difficult to stop eating pork. It's not that difficult to get out of Islam. It's not that difficult to put Egyptology and Kemet away. It's not difficult to do those things. But if you do refuse the Lord's counsel, you will see what happens to you when you marry that white woman. You will see what happens to you when you want to keep eating pork. You will see what happens to you when you want to keep believing in Islam and keep doing whatever those Egyptian Kemets, so-called scholars, think they know. It's going to lead to your destruction. Your kid might come out thinking he's white and not black. Come out thinking he's Asian and not so-called Hispanic. Come out thinking he's Arab and not so-called Native American. Doesn't want nothing to do with you, all because you refuse the Lord's counsel. But if you listen and receive the advice from the Lord that is being given to you straight from the Lord, from the man of the Lord's mouth, you won't have nothing to worry about. If the man of the Lord is telling you to stop eating pork, it's because the Lord said in the Bible not to eat pork. So it's our duty to tell you, listen, God said not to eat pork. It is an abomination. It is unclean to you. God said not to sleep with strange women. Well, listen, in the Bible, when I read it, it said not to sleep with Arabs and white people and African people because they're gonna lead our people to destruction. It happened in the past because we refused the Lord's counsel. How about this time in 2021? How about we actually listen? How about we actually take the Lord's advice? How about we stop thinking that those men on the corner or whatever neighborhood you grew up in are a bunch of clowns and they need to get jobs, and start looking at them as people who stand for the Lord and want the best for Black, Hispanic, and Native American people. Once you start thinking that, you'll actually start to listen. You'll actually start to receive their advice. And you'll see how it starts to change your life. How you'll have more discipline in the household. How you'll be able to think about your brothers more and less about yourself. you'll see how drastically your life can change. All right? We're going to go to verse 34. See if there's any questions. There's no audio? Hold on, let me see.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm getting audio. Check, check. Check, check. There's no audio? No, there's audio. There's audio. Yahshua, make sure you refresh your page. The audio is working. I just checked it right now, okay? Just refresh your page, all right? All right, we're going to move on to verse. Let me see something. All right, verse 34, please.
34.
Yeah.
Stand in the multitude of the elders, and cleave unto him that is wise.
Right? So this is, I want to clear something up real quick. Read it again.
34. Stand in the multitude of the elders.
Right? You want to stand around elders, right?
Yeah.
Now, with elders, it doesn't necessarily mean people of old age, because you can have an old man who's very foolish,
Right.
and never does what the Lord wants, and you can have a young man like Daniel, who's just a young man who ends up getting the Spirit of the Lord on him, and he's able to make and do wonderful things. He would be considered an elder.
Right.
Let me get that scripture in the Bible. I think it's in the book of Susanna, where the Spirit of the Lord came on Daniel.
John.
Can you get that for me, please?
John.
Right? So an elder doesn't necessarily mean a person of old age. An elder is a person who has grown up and adheres to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God. That's an elder. Someone who lives their life according to these laws, statutes, and commandments. Because would you rather listen to a 50-year-old junkie or who's made all the wrong decisions in his life, or would you rather listen to a 23-year-old who does everything the Lord wants him to do, who's been living his whole life making sure that every move he makes is according to the law, statutes, and commandments of God? Who would you rather stand around? Who would you rather listen to? The junkie on the corner, or the person that doesn't commit adultery? Would you rather listen to the alcoholic on the corner, or would you rather listen to the person who doesn't eat crab, shrimp, lobster, and catfish, who keeps these laws that were given to him? I don't know about you, but I would rather listen to the person that obeys God rather than listen to the junkie or the drug addict or the drug dealer or the prostitute. I wouldn't want to listen to any of them, but I would want to listen to that 21-year-old that knows the law, statutes, and commandments of God and does them. You got it?
The Susanna 1 and 45.
This is in the book of Susanna, right? Verse 45.
Therefore, when she was led to be put to death.
Now, Susanna was about to be put to death, right? Because she was being accused by two elders, two men that were supposed to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of God. But these two elders, these two old men, were making women, were committing adultery and making women commit adultery with them. And they were trying to get Susanna killed, all because Susanna did not want to sleep with these two men, although she had a husband, although they knew she had a husband, although they were in her husband's house. They want these two elders were trying to get Susanna killed. And Susanna, who grew up in the laws, who grew up obeying God's commandments, who grew up with righteous parents, she did not want to disobey God. She did not want to bring shame upon her husband, herself, her family. So she did not sleep with these two elders. So now we're learning about the trial that we're having, so that way they can kill Susanna. Keep going.
God, the Most High raised up the Holy Spirit of a young youth.
The what?
Of a young youth.
The Lord raised up the spirit of a young youth. Now you have to understand, right? I believe in Ecclesiasticus 6 verse 18, right? Where it was talking about from thy youth receive instruction, right? We were supposed to be brought up from our youth with the law, statutes, and commandments of God. Daniel, in his youth, the Lord put the Holy Spirit on him. Keep going.
God, whose name was Daniel. That's the end of the verse. Keep going.
Yeah.
46. Who cried with a loud voice.
He did what?
Who cried with a loud voice.
The Spirit of the Lord came upon Daniel, and he shouted and cried in front of the entire trial, in front of all the people, the juries, and all the spectators. Keep going.
I am clear from the blood of this woman.
I don't want nothing to do with the murder of this woman. Keep going.
47. Then all the people turned them towards him and said, what mean these words that thou hast spoken?
And everyone's so shocked, like, what do you mean you don't want nothing to do with the punishment of this woman? She obviously committed adultery. These two men saw her commit adultery with another man. That was a lie, by the way. The Spirit of the Lord came upon Daniel, and Daniel knew that this was a lie, and he wanted no part of this. Keep going.
48. So he standing in the midst of them said, are ye such fools, ye sons of Israel?
And Daniel said, are you all fools that you're going to listen to this story? You can't see the lie in this story? You haven't heard about all the other adulterous acts that these two men have done in the past? You all know Susanna and her upbringing. You all know how her husband is such a prestigious and righteous man. And you're just going to, without the benefit of the doubt, just believe these elders because they're elders. You don't see the shame and embarrassment on this woman's face, that she has her face covered and she's crying and she's saying, no, she didn't do such a thing. Keep going.
That without examination or knowledge of the truth, ye have condemned a daughter of Israel.
And you're supposed to be elders. You're supposed to be lawgivers, that you're not going to, one, examine what's happening. You're not going to question people. You're not going to go to the site of where this alleged adulterous act happened. Keep going.
John. 49. Return again to the place of judgment, for they have borne false witness against her.
And Daniel, because he had the Spirit of the Lord, because this young child grew up with instruction, because as when we're used, we're supposed to be trained up correctly, so that when we get older, we don't depart from what we're supposed to be doing, which is obeying the law, statutes, and commandments. These people didn't want instruction. They didn't want correction. They didn't want righteous counsel. They didn't want advice. But Daniel could not stand there any longer and allow this poor instruction to go and kill this woman. He could not allow this unrighteous counsel kill this woman. He did not want to be part of it at all. So what he did was he made these two elders, one at a time, prove and show where they said they saw this adulterous act. And at the end of the day, both of these elders gave a different story from the other, gave a different location from the other, and it proved that they were lying. And they were put to death instead of Susanna. And her righteousness shown because she was willing to die for the truth. She was willing to die by not disobeying the Lord. For all you women out there, if you want actual instruction, if you want actual advice, if you want actual correction, you can only get it from the men who have the Spirit of the Lord on them. All right? But let's get back to here, because an elder can be a young man like Daniel. It doesn't have to actually be an old man. Keep going. Ecclesiasticus chapter 6, verse 34.
Stand in the multitude of the elders and cleave unto him that is wise.
Right? So you want to stand around those who know the law, who do the law, right? Who teach the law, and you want to find the wisest.
Right.
You want to find the wisest and stick to that man like white on glue. You want to stick to that elder like white on glue, like white on rice. You want to be joined to him like rice and peas. You want to be joined to him like jerk seasoning goes on chicken and goat. Give me some other ones about it. Like PB&J.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
You know, like spaghetti and meatballs. You know, like macaroni and cheese if made right.
Israelites and incest.
Right? No, that's a little unrighteous, but you know.
Right.
You want to stick to that man like white on glue, because that elder, that man who's the wisest, you want to cleave onto him. You want to stick onto him. You want to wait on his foot, because everything he's going to be saying, every word that comes out of his mouth is going to be instructions from the Lord. It's going to be instructions from God. It's going to be correction from God. It's going to be counsel from the God. It's going to be the words, laws, statutes, and commandments from God. You want to say something?
I wanted to say, I know the cat's wicked, but to my knowledge, wicked. But Paul studied at the feet of Gamaliel from infancy.
Right. Until he met Christ.
Right. Then he studied at his feet.
And then he studied at the correct man's foot. Right? Is that the end of that verse?
God.
All right. We're gonna go to verse 36. Verse 36. Let's see. The sis says we can hear you, Most High in Christ. All right. Verse 36, Babakashan.
36. And if thou seest a man of understanding, get thee betimes unto him, and let thy foot wear the steps of his door.
Listen, this is so heavy. Because when I found the truth, I did exactly this. Read it again.
And if thou seest a man of understanding,
if you see a man of understanding, so when I saw Captain Tazariak, when I saw Captain Mashak, when I saw Captain Katazar, when I saw General Mahaiman, when I saw General Mayak, when I saw Captain Gadahar, when I saw Captain Marquah, when I saw Captain Laban, when I saw brothers like this, especially Commanding General YAHANNA, when I saw a man of understanding, keep going.
Get thee betimes unto him.
What?
Get thee betimes unto him.
I ran to that person. Run to that man of understanding. Find your way to that man of understanding. Google that man's number and call him. Google that man's email and call him. I know I was in my worst and down and out in the world. I called the number 646-481-6315. And as soon as the first ring was ringing, Captain Tazariak picked up the phone. And ever since that day, I've been in the I.S.U.P.K. under Commanding General YAHANNA doing the work of the Lord. Because I saw a man of understanding and I ran to him. Keep going.
and let thy foot wear the steps of his door.
And you want to be around that person 24/7. 24/7, you want to be bugging that man. You know, Captain Tazariak sometimes get mad at me because I'll be calling him all different hours of the day. I'll call him like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you can hear he's at the gym lifting out. You know, he's at the gym working out, and you know what? He picks up my phone call and he answers my question.
Right.
You know, I call General Hyman, and it could be like 3 in the morning, and you can tell he just woke up, but he'll pick up his phone call and answer my question. I can call Officer Shalayala, the man over Yonkers, at any time of the day, and he'll pick up the phone and tell me exactly what I need to do, how to do it, and he will listen, and I will receive his advice. This is what we all need to do. We need to see a man of understanding, and that's inside the I.S.U.P.K. The men in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge are these men of understanding. And what you all need to do, whatever city you're in, you need to run to the I.S.U.P.K. For all you brothers and sisters in Yonkers, you need to run to the I.S.U.P.K. Yonkers and speak to Officer Shalayala. Call Officer Shalayala 24/7. Listen, yeah, you know, you're trying to sleep and you get a phone call the other day, but listen, he would rather lose sleep than allow you to fall victim to your own advice, to your wicked decisions, to listen to other people when they're telling you the wrong decisions to make. He would rather you call him 24/7, so that way he can ensure that your life is saved, because that's his job. That's my job. That's the job of Priest and Officer Abadia. This is what we are supposed to do in the I.S.U.P.K., and this is what we execute on a daily basis. Read it again, Baba Show.
And if thou seest a man of understanding, give thee betimes unto him, and let thy foot wear the steps of his door.
Listen, some of y'all may not know where I'm at, but on this details in the YouTube or the Facebook, my number is there. Officer Shalayala's number is there. You can type in I.S.U.P.K. Yonkers, find our email, find where we have classes at. You can contact almost any single man of the Lord in the I.S.U.P.K. You can find them. You can wear their doorstep. Read the last part of that.
And let thy foot wear the steps of his door.
You can let your foot wear the steps of his door. You're constantly at his door knocking. Constantly on his, listen, save that number on speed dial. So whenever you need to know whether you should make a decision or not, you just press 1 and it goes directly to the priest and prophet of the Lord. All right? All right, we're going to move on. We're going to go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 32, verse 17. So today we're getting a lot out of the Apocrypha, because the Apocrypha has so many hidden gems in it. It's ridiculous. And it makes us understand why the so-called white man, the Edomites, wanted these books removed. 32 and 17. Chapter 32 and verse 17. Let me just check any questions. If you guys have any questions online, make sure you type them in. I'll see if I can answer them. If not, I'll make sure by next Wednesday's class I have the answer to your question. All right? All right, let's get rocking. Ecclesiasticus chapter 32, verse 17.
Ecclesiasticus 32 and 17. A sinful man will not be reproved.
A what?
Sinful man will not be reproved.
A sinful man will not be reproved. Everybody, can you get that definition, Bubba Show, of reproved?
Sir.
We're going to get the definition of reproved. Because it's always good to understand the words that we come across that we might not see on a regular basis. Now, I didn't know what this word meant.
Reprimand or
and I one of the few brothers that went to college. I've never seen this word before. But here in the I.S.U.P.K, we do so much studying. So much, we research almost every single thing that it's amazing how much more work we do in here than a person can do in a regular university or in a regular college. Reprove. Let me get the definition of Michelle.
Reprimand.
Reprimand. What else?
Censure.
What?
Censure.
Censure. What else? You always want to try Merriam-Webster's instead of just the Google definition. You got reprimand.
Scold or correct, usually gently or with kindly intent.
You got censure, reprimand. Oh no, that's a P, not R. Reprimand. I think that's how you spell it. Reprimand. Correction, right? Yeah, that's a spelling, just check the spelling right there, right? A sinful man will not be reproved. A sinful man doesn't want to be corrected. A sinful man doesn't want to be reprimanded. A sinful man or woman doesn't want instruction, doesn't want advice, doesn't want the words of God, doesn't care about the law, statutes, and commandments of God. This is what a sinful man does. A sinful man will not be corrected, will not be reprimanded. He doesn't want to. She doesn't want to. He loves using drugs. She loves sleeping with multiple men. Keep going.
But finding an excuse according to his will.
And they find excuses. Right? This is what a sinful person does. A sinful man, a sinful woman will go out and sleep with a random man or a random woman. And then when they come, speak to the man of the Lord and say, listen, I slept with this man, I slept with this woman, I'm pregnant now, I got an STD, her husband's out to come get me. And when the man of the Lord asks you, why did you do those things? How come you didn't call us? Or how come you didn't tell me before you went and slept with this man or slept with this woman? Oh, I lost your number. Oh, I didn't think I needed to call you and ask you if I should sleep with this man or sleep with this woman. Oh, they're gonna come up with an excuse that's good for them. Meanwhile, a person like me, I'll call Captain Tazariak, Officer Shalayala. Listen, that's this woman that I'm digging. I'm really feeling her. Well, one, they're going to ask me, well, is she Israel? Is she so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American? If she's not, then you can't sleep with her. Two, does she have a man? Is she sleeping with someone already? Because if she is, she's off limits. We don't condone adultery in here. Three, is it in your best interest to sleep with her? Do you know she has an STD? Because if you don't know, you're taking a chance by sleeping with her. Four, are you going to have trouble with her down the road because she doesn't agree and doesn't want to obey the law, statutes, and commandments of God? I'm going to get drilled with a bunch of questions. And at the end of that questioning, I'm going to get the best advice. I'm going to get the best instructions. I'm going to get the best correction because I want to be reproved. I want correction. I want to be reprimanded if I'm doing something that may even look wrong. But a sinful man, a sinful woman will find an excuse to not get correction. Will find an excuse to not get advice. Will find an excuse to not get instructions from the men of the Lord. Right? Don't be a sinful man. Don't be a sinful woman. Well, listen, we all make mistakes, and the only way to get better is correction, is instruction. We all grow up not knowing the law, statutes, and commandments of God. Our parents are out there committing sin because their parents committed sin. We didn't know better, but now we're starting to know better. There's no more time for excuses. We can't get excuses anymore. We need correction. We need to be reprimanded. We need instruction. We need advice. All right? So let's go on to the next verse. We're going to go to verse 18.
Verse 18.
Hold on. Verse 18, Baba Shah.
Verse 18, a man of counsel will be considerate, but a strange and proud man is not daunted with fear.
Well, this is very heavy. Read it again about Bishop.
A man of counsel will be considerate.
A man of counsel. He will be considerate. You know why? Because he's going to think about the advice that he got. He's going to take heed to the advice that he got. He's going to walk around and say, well, they say I shouldn't sleep. They say I should always find out if the woman is Israel first before I decide to want to be with her. I should find out if this woman has a man already or if she's sleeping with other people before I decide to sleep with her. I want to find out if this woman is clean, is she healthy before I sleep with her, because I don't want to get sick. I don't want to sleep with a woman that's not so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American. I don't want to sleep with a woman that is sleeping with multiple men or already has a husband. So a man of counsel, he's going to be considerate. He's going to consider all these things that are being told to him. He's going to consider the instruction, the counsel, the advice. This is what's going to run through his head. What I'm doing, does it line up with the law, statute, and commandments of God? Am I thinking about my brothers and sisters? That's what a considerate man is going to be doing. Keep going.
Child of God, even when of himself he hath done without counsel.
So, no, start after considerate.
Will be considerate, but a strange and proud man.
A what?
A strange and proud man.
A strange and proud man. I need you to focus, all right?
Counsel.
Put that away. A strange and proud man will do what?
Is not daunted with fear.
A strange and proud man doesn't care. They're not scared. Keep going.
Even when of himself he hath done without counsel.
A strange and proud man doesn't care. He doesn't care whether this woman is Israel or not. He doesn't care if this is a Black, Hispanic, or Native American woman. Yo, I like that woman. I want to go sleep with her. He doesn't care if this woman has an STD or not. Listen, he's trying to listen. This man just wants to get a nut, and he's going to go sleep with this woman. Put a condom on if he's that worried. But he doesn't care. He's not scared, so he probably won't. He doesn't care, right? Whether he gets counsel from someone or not, he doesn't care about that counsel. He already has his own advice that's the best advice in his head. He might not even get advice. He might not even go get counsel. He might just stare at himself in the mirror and automatically know what he's going to do. A strange and proud man is not scared of failing. He's not scared of disobeying God. But a man of counsel, he's considerate. He considers all these matters. If is what I'm doing disobeying God? Is what I'm doing going to lead me to get punished by God? Is what I'm doing going against the advice that I received from the man of the Lord who's given me the best advice from the Lord? This is what we all have to be. We all have to be men and women of counsel who all go get counsel from the men of the Lord, who all go inquire of God from a seer, from a prophet, from a priest. And we need to consider everything that's being told to us, because what's being told to us is only for our benefit. When that priest picks up the phone and you call him and you want to know if you should let your baby daddy see his children, that priest is going to tell you this, that, and the third, and he's going to give you the best decision, the best advice. When you call up a priest and you're telling the priest, listen, my baby mother won't let me see my son or my daughter, that priest is going to listen to everything you have to say and give you the best advice. That way you might be able to see your daughter or see your son. All right? We're going to move on to verse 19. All right, verse 19.
19. Do nothing without advice.
What?
Do nothing without advice.
And this comes back to the first point I made earlier. You shouldn't do nothing without advice. Don't do nothing without advice. Now, I'm not talking about getting advice if you should wear the blue boxers or the white boxer briefs. Listen, if you don't know how to choose your own underwear by now, you might need more than just advice. But listen, if you want to call and see what kind of boxers you should wear, listen, sure, why not? Go ahead. But if you want to know whether you should sleep with a woman or not, don't do nothing without advice. If you want to know if you should go to a party where you know people are going to be using drugs and getting drunk, and then there might be gang violence, don't do nothing without advice. If you want to know if you should go over to your baby mama's house and smack her new boyfriend upside the head because he's beating your children, listen, before you do that, do nothing without advice. If you think your baby daddy's a deadbeat and he don't do nothing for his kids and you want to put that man on child support, listen, stop. Before you go down to family court or whatever court that's going to grant you child support, don't do nothing without advice. Make sure you call the priests and prophets of the Lord at the I.S.U.P.K.
Right.
Don't do nothing without advice. Hell, listen, Abadia here is a certified culinary chef. If you need to know how to make mac and cheese, don't do nothing without advice.
Right.
Make sure you're getting advice for every decision that you're coming to. You want to know if you should go to school or not? Don't do nothing without advice. You want to know if you should spend your money on a car or spend your money on being able to pay rent for the next 6 months? Don't do nothing without advice. It's so important. I can't stress this enough. Don't do nothing without advice.
Right.
And listen, our phone numbers are listed all over every video, all over every website, all over every class. You have phone numbers, you have emails, you have addresses you can Google. Listen, don't do nothing without advice. It's really that serious. They should make a song about it. Don't do nothing with advice and put a sick beat to it because it's true. You want to know if you should, sell drugs or not, you go to your boy and talk to him and you get advice, right? Well, listen, if you want to know if you want to live correctly, if you want to know how to survive in 2021, if you want to learn how to forgive your father for not being there all your life, if you want to be able to, if you want to learn how to forgive your mother for beating you and poisoning you so she can collect SSI from you, don't do nothing without advice. Come see the men of the Lord in the I.S.U.P.K. All right? We're going to move on. We're going to go to verse 20. Gonna get rid of that one. All right, 20, please.
20. Go not in a way wherein thou mayest fall.
Keep going.
And stumble not among the stones.
Listen, it's sad when we all fail in life. It's sad when we all fall down and stumble and hurt our knee, and now we need a Band-Aid and a kiss on our boo-boo to make us feel better. But listen, if no one ever told you not to touch the stove when it's hot, someone failed you. and you should have gotten that advice. If someone did tell you not to touch the stove when it's on, you didn't take that advice, so you failed, you fell. But if someone's giving you advice not to touch the stove when it's on, you should be able to listen and not touch the stove when it's on, so that way you don't fall, you don't fail. But listen, kids, kids need to learn, right? They learn at a slower pace, they don't comprehend as much. But us as adults, when you do things without instruction, you fail, you fall, you stumble, you hurt yourself, you can lead to your death. When you do things without counsel, without correction, without advice, you will fall, you will fail. You think that selling drugs is your best opportunity to get money and get out the hood? You're going to fail, you're going to fall. You should have gotten advice. You should have called the I.S.U.P.K, under Commanding General YAHANNA. If you think that prostituting yourself and getting an OnlyFans and selling nude pictures of you in the nude, you're going to fall and fail. Because one day one of your children is going to grow up and then find a naked picture of you that his friend showed him at school, and your son is going to be a laughing stock in the school. Your daughter's going to come home crying saying, "Mommy, everyone says you're a whore because you're having sex with men on Pornhub." Get advice so that way you don't fall and you don't fail. All right? We're going to move on. All right, any questions? All right, we're going to go to, what time is it? We're running out of time, huh? Let's get to, let's go to 1 Chronicles chapter 10. Let's jump around a bit. I know we're running out of time. There's a lot of good scriptures in Ecclesiastes chapter 37, all right? But right now we're going to go to 1 Chronicles. Chapter 10, verses 13 to 14. All right, give you all a few moments to get there. 1 Chronicles chapter 10, verse 13 and 14. All right, let's get it.
1 Chronicles 10 and 14. Wait, second or first?
1 Chronicles chapter 10, verses 13 and 14.
Count on Counsel.
No sweat.
SHALAM, just second Chronicles.
That's okay. We're going to get into an example of one man who didn't take advice, who didn't take the counsel, who didn't take instruction from the Lord. Read.
This is 1 Chronicles 10 and 13. So Saul died for his transgression.
Who?
Saul died for his transgression.
Saul died. Saul was the first king of Israel, right?
Very first one.
Saul was the very first king of Israel. If you don't know the story of Saul, I'll give you a little synopsis. Saul, when he was young and growing up, he was the best of the best. He was the goody two-shoe. He did everything that favored the Lord, right? And he was anointed king of all Israel. And part of this was he was commanded and instructed, right? He got counsel from Samuel, a prophet of God, to go kill all the Amalekites. This is what you would call the so-called Jewish man today, the Amalekites. He was told to not leave not one man, woman, or child standing. not leave no cow, goat, sheep, chicken, horse alive, not to leave no stone of a house, wood, and he was supposed to obliterate everything that belonged to the Amalekites.
Right.
There's supposed to be no trace of them. He went with his army, killed everyone except King Agag, except King Agag. The people, he listened more than the Lord, so he allowed the people to keep the best of the sheep, to keep the best of the goats and cattle, because they wanted to sacrifice it to the Lord. Now Saul was supposed to listen to the advice and the counsel of the prophet Samuel, who spoke up for the Lord. The order was to destroy everything. Saul didn't listen to the advice and the counsel of the prophet that came directly from the Lord, and he rather listened to the people and saved King Agag and allowed the people to keep the best of the animals. So read. Saul died
for his transgression,
for sinning. Saul died for sinning, for going against the Most High, for doing things against what the Lord wanted. Keep going.
Which he committed against the Most High, even against the word of the Most High, which he kept not, and also for asking counsel of one that had a familiar spirit.
And you know what else he did? He got counsel from a witch, a tarot card reader,
Psychic, diviner,
a psychic,
diviner,
right? The diviner.
What would they call it?
Someone who spoke to the dead.
Right. Soothsayer.
Saul went and got counsel from someone who spoke to the dead instead of getting counsel from the Lord.
Right.
He got counsel from the dead. He went to get advice from the wrong person.
Right.
When he should have got advice from the right person. In fact, Saul was getting advice from the best person alive at that moment, the prophet Samuel. The prophet Samuel was giving Saul the exact words from God, and Saul didn't heed it. Saul kept sinning against the Lord. Saul sinned and disregarded the prophet Samuel by going to see a person who spoke to the dead, by trying to get advice from some psychic, some witch, some diviner, some tarot card reader. He sinned because of this. He died because of these things. Is that the end of verse 14?
Lie, we didn't even get to 14.
Go to 14.
14. And inquired not of the Most High, therefore he slew him, and turned the kingdom unto David the son.
Listen, because Saul disobeyed God, because Saul transgressed and broke the laws of God, Saul went and got counsel from someone who spoke to the dead, which is a law. We're not supposed to allow people like this to live. A witch is supposed to be put to death. A psychic is supposed to be put to death. A diviner, a tarot card reader, a wizard, a necromancer, a person who drinks blood, people who speak to the dead, they're supposed to be put to death.
God.
And Saul went to get counsel from them. And you know what happened? Because of his poor judgment, because he got counsel from the wrong person, because he disobeyed counsel from the right person, the kingdom was taken from him.
Right. Slide, you mind if I get one in?
Yeah, go ahead.
I got basically 2 Chronicles 13.
Read.
This is David's grandson after Solomon died. Okay, after he's dealing with Israel. This is 2 Chronicles 10 and 13. And the king answered them roughly, and King Rehoboam forsook the counsel of the old men. 14. And the advice of the young.
Actually, go up to verse 7 and 8 when he's
Count. I'm sure if you want to go on that.
Yeah.
7.
I was actually going to bring that up, but I was like, oh, it's going to be too long.
Yeah. Count. 7. And they spake unto him, saying, if thou be kind to this people.
Go more.
One more. 6, and King
This
Rehoboam.
is 2 Chronicles, chapter what?
10 and 6.
2 Chronicles, verse 6. The grandson of King David, Rehoboam, is now in rulership, and he's about to get advice from two people. The ones who gave counsel to Solomon, and the ones he grew up with, his homeboys, his best friends.
Right.
Read.
6, and King Rehoboam took counsel with the old men that had stood before Solomon his father.
So Rehoboam is going speaking to the men that gave counsel to King Solomon. Now remember, King Solomon, before he sinned, he was the wisest man on the face of the earth, because he valued wisdom more than anything. Keep going.
While he yet lived, saying, what counsel give ye me to return answer to this people?
Now Rehoboam is asking these wise men, these counselors, what are you going to tell me, so that way I can tell the people that I'm going to be king over? Go ahead. 7,
and they spake unto him, saying, if thou be kind to this people,
if you're kind to the people, Rehoboam,
and please them,
and if you please them, Rehoboam,
and speak good words to them,
Rehoboam,
they will be thy servants forever.
If you do all these things, King Rehoboam, like King Solomon did, like King David did, the people will serve you. They will be loyal to you. They will love you just like they love David, just like they love Solomon. And all you got to do is be kind, speak good things to them. Treat them according to the law. Keep going.
8, but he forsook the counsel which the old men gave him.
And he said, to hell with these old men. They don't know what they're talking about. These fools.
Right.
Y'all the reason why my father sinned in the first place. Y'all gave him bad counsel. Blah blah blah. I don't even listen to y'all. Y'all bunch of old farts. Y'all know nothing. Y'all bunch of winos. This is what Rehoboam is basically thinking. You know, forget what they have to say. Keep going.
And took counsel with the young men that were brought up with him.
But he goes to the drinking chambers, and he sees his homeboys, all the boys he grew up with, learning how to read and write with, learning how to go hunting together. He saw all his friends, all his day ones, right? Keep going.
That stood before him, 9, and he said unto them, what advice give thee, ye, that we may return answer to this people?
And he tells them, hey yo, my guys, yo, tell me what I should say. What do you think I should tell the people? This is what he's asking them, for his friends to give him advice. Keep going.
10, and the young men that were brought up with him spake unto him, saying, thus shalt thou answer the people that spake unto thee, saying,
this is what you need to tell the people, King Rehoboam, big King R. This is what you need to tell the people. Keep going.
Thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it somewhat lighter for us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, my little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins.
He's going to say, my little finger is going to, he's basically telling them, what I'm going to do is going to be worse than what my father did. Right. If he thought my father was bad, if he thought my father was unjust, if he thought my father was an unfit king, well, guess what? I'm going to show you how much worse I'm going to be. This is what his homeboys are telling him. Keep going. Oh, you want to say something?
Oh, no, I was just, what's up? Count. Sorry. So whereas my father put a heavy yoke upon you, I will put more to your yoke.
And his friends are telling him to tell the people, listen, I know my father may have been harsh on you, but I'm going to be harsh. Now skip down to the part where he said he spoke roughly.
Count 13. And the king answered them roughly, and King Rehoboam forsook men.
And this is what King Rehoboam did. His own friend's advice, and was going to be a dictator and a cruel to the people of Israel, to the point where they end up fighting against and raising up against Rehoboam. And the kingdom is going to be is split in two. When he could have just did what the old men said. The counsels of Solomon, he could have listened to them and speak kind things to them and let them know, listen, I'm going to make sure that everyone's treated with kindness. I'm going to make sure that everything is according to the law. I'm going to make sure that everything is much better than before. Because my father, he went off a little bit. We're going to destroy all these temples. that he raised up for these heathen women. We're going to get rid of these heathen women out of our kingdom. But instead, he listened to his friends who didn't care about doing the right thing, who didn't care about obeying God and doing what the Lord wanted. He ended up treating the people of Israel worse than what King Solomon did, which is a result of King Solomon sinning and splitting the kingdom. All right, the water for me up because I wasn't going to go into that because of to read all the scriptures would have been too long.
Yeah, come.
All right, we got about 10 minutes left. And this leads us into a really good part of the Bible. And let's go to Ecclesiasticus, back in the Apocrypha. Ecclesiasticus. That scripture that we just read about leads us right into this.
John 37 and
37, starting verse 7.
7. This is Ecclesiastes 37 and 7. Every counselor extolleth counsel, but there is some that counseleth for himself.
Hold on 1 second. Read it again.
Every counselor extolleth counsel.
So every counselor, right? Every counselor is going to extol counsel. Now we all learn what extol means, right?
Right.
Every counselor is going to tell you, listen, go get counsel. It's the best thing you can do. Listen, go seek the men of the Lord. They're going to give you the best advice. Don't do nothing without counsel. Right? Keep going.
But.
What? But. Read.
There is a some that for himself.
There's some that counsel for themselves.
Your pastor.
These men are selfish.
Right.
These men are prideful. These men are greedy. These men are filled with hate. These men are filled with lust. These men don't follow the law of God.
Right.
Don't follow God. They don't follow God because the advice they give you is not advice from the Lord. The counsel they give you is not counsel from the Lord. The instruction and the correction they give you is not from the Lord. It's from their own selves. Just like Abadi just read in 2 Chronicles chapter 10, right? The King Rehoboam went to his homeboys, and his homeboys told him things that they want. They want him to be rulers. Listen, if my boy's the king, I get to be second in command. I can do whatever I want. Listen, you go tell them you're going to rule with an iron fist. That way, I can go rule with an iron fist under your authority. Instead of listening to the men who are wise, who did things according to the law, because then they couldn't have power. His best friends wouldn't be able to rule with an iron fist if Rehoboam is teaching and preaching and talking about kindness to the people and being nice to the people. There's some people who give you counsel that's going to benefit themselves. All right? Go to verse 8.
Verse 8.
Go.
Beware of the counselor, and know before what need he hath, for he will counsel for himself, lest he cast a lot upon thee.
Be careful who you get advice from. Because you're having problems with your relationship and with your man. You think by going to your homegirl who's had 3 husbands, 5 daddies, and you going to her for advice? Beware who you're getting advice from. You know, you going to your brother who's been locked up multiple times for selling drugs, and you going for him for advice on how to sell drugs. Listen, you need to beware who you're getting advice from. If your brother was good at what he did, he would not have gotten caught for selling drugs in the first place. All right? Beware who you get advice from. You need to know what they stand to lose, what they stand to gain. You need to know what kind of person they are. And the I.S.U.P.K, we don't care about none of that. All we care about is you obeying the law, statutes, and commandments of God. Because once we tell you that you're supposed to obey God, once we teach you how to keep these laws, once we show you what you have to do, and if you choose to do otherwise, that's your problem, not ours. But if we fail to do our job, then we are held responsible for not helping and going out to try to save you. About it?
I was gonna say that's like what's called beware. What's called like Cardi B and Jay-Z pick your political affiliation.
Yes. Listen. If you like Donald Trump and voted for Donald Trump because Lil Wayne and Kanye West voted for Donald Trump, listen, you need to be who you get advice from. If you voted for Joe Biden because Cardi B and Jay-Z and Beyonce told you to vote for Joe Biden, listen, you need to beware who you get advice from.
Right.
What did Jay-Z, Cardi B, and Beyonce stand to gain by telling you to vote for Biden? What did Lil Wayne gain by telling you to vote for Donald Trump? Listen, now that Donald Trump is out of office, didn't Lil Wayne get pardoned for his crime?
God.
Listen, Lil Wayne told you to go vote for Donald Trump, and he supports Donald Trump just so he can be pardoned by Donald Trump. And here you are voting for Donald Trump and not getting nothing. You need to beware who you get advice from. You need to know who you're dealing with first. Read that scripture.
John, beware of a counselor and know before what need he hath, for he will counsel for himself, lest he cast a lot upon thee.
Listen, this counselor is going to tell you things that's going to benefit him. And at the next thing you know, your life is in his hands. He's gambling with your life because he's giving you the wrong advice. He's giving you the wrong instructions, the wrong correction. He's giving you poor counsel. But if you just call that number, if you just email that, if you just write an email, if you just come to class and speak to the prophets and priests of the Lord in the I.S.U.P.K, you know exactly what kind of counsel you're getting. All we want is for you to obey God. All we want for you is to love your brother and love your sister like you love yourself. All we want for you is to stop eating pork, crab, shrimp, and lobster. All we want for you is to get out of these false religions like Christianity, Catholicism, Buddhism, Islam. All we want for you is to come back and serve the Lord so that way we can get out of this poverty, out of this oppression, out of this slavery, so that way our children don't have to get taken away from us. That way our children don't grow up to be drug addicts and sleeping on the corners and doing all type of strange things for a little bit of change. Listen, for all you men, women, and children in Yonkers that are watching this right here, all you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in the I.S.U.P.K, all we want for you is to change your life and serve God. That's all we want. We don't gain nothing from you. All we want is for you to just serve the Lord. That's it. We're going to drop that and we're going to go into Proverbs 11 and 14. Proverbs 11, 14. Go ahead, read about it.
Where no counsel is, the people fall.
So where there's no counsel, the people fall. That's why blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are in such a terrible position right now. Because we go to the Christian and Catholic Church, we get no counsel, we get no righteous judgment, we get no righteous advice, no righteous instruction, no righteous correction, and we fall. We get hooked on drugs, we commit adultery, we get abortion, we murder each other, we lie, we do all these wicked things. Because where there's no counsel, the people fall. But if you only know to come into the I.S.U.P.K, you will have counsel. Because there's counsel here. We got a whole counseling department that is set up just to counsel you. You calling at 1 in the morning crying for whatever the reason is, there's someone that's going to speak to you and counsel you. You having trouble paying your rent and you not knowing what to do, and you might go rob a bank and whatever. Listen, call that number. There's going to be someone there to counsel you. You don't know what to do. You know, your children are always out in the street getting in gangs and drugs and being a little slut. Listen, call the I.S.U.P.K. There's a counselor waiting to speak to you. Right. All right. Let's go to Psalms 1:1.
Psalms 1:1. Blessed.
Psalms 1:1.
Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful.
Say it one more time.
Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly.
Listen. Stay away from the ungodly. Stay away from them. Stay away from drug dealers. You can't gain nothing good from a drug dealer. Stay away from a prostitute, a stripper, a OnlyFans, nude model. You can gain nothing good from them. Stay away from priests and pastors and bishops and deacons and imams. Listen, you cannot gain anything good from them. They are ungodly. They're not going to give you the advice that you need. They're not going to give you the correction, because if they did, our communities would have been fixed since the 30s and 40s. They can't give you advice, because if they gave you advice, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in right now, hooked on drugs, not owning any of our businesses, right? They can't give you good counsel, because if they gave you good counsel, we wouldn't be Bloods and Crips and Latin Kings and Trinitarios and MS-13s killing each other. So they failed. Stay away from them. In the I.S.U.P.K, we got ex-gang members, Bloods, Crips, Trinitarios, Latin Kings, MS-13s, people from the Mexican cartel. We got all of them in the I.S.U.P.K, and we all changed our lives. We also got bookworms and people who went to school to learn how to cook and learn how to put electric circuits together and make lights work in a house and build a house. We got people who studied science all together in the I.S.U.P.K. The one thing we have in common is that we all turned to the Lord. We all went and got instructions from men of the Lord. We all went and got counsel and advice and correction from men in the Lord in the I.S.U.P.K. All right, yonkers, listen. I'm Priest and Officer Shagapan of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out on 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. And it's since 1969, right here to 2021. And Lord willing, until Christ comes, or if we got to wait a couple more centuries, we'll be right here being led by Commanding General YAHANNA, trying to wake up so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to their identity, to the truth of the Bible, to what we got to do to save our people. And with that, shalom.
All jokes aside, you know how niggas be like, I'm this and that for life. I'm this and that for life. I'm this for life, nigga, this is blood. And yo, Mataraj. They go class for my nigga. Stop. for the times that I give on and bring it giving. Have no respect to your bring on. We bout your business. This little teacher never sentence little. Trying to pick up with a blind friend. They said every minute matches. I'm just grinding for my time share. The devils and clan friends. They're hunching like bad pell. But ain't no kids out the game like you munch it. Or if you take that office of bandit, they try to deal death to a priest. You won't make it all in work. You ain't gonna make so you can stay. Just make sure you got the heart. Say your name 3 times. It is damn to us partner. So how you feel about this truth by the show? Ain't it like you think, nigga? I should walk now. Even your own on this show. And the Lord said they hate you for my name. So you better keep it on. Ain't no more kids. Ain't no more questions. Make sure my election till I'm tucked away like George Jennings. Murder for capitalized. Murder at the Capitol. The world. We like fucking rain. I pity those watching life as it go by. Been giving mercy in his life, I don't know why. It comes smoke. They dead on my brother, being dead, it's all I don't. It's a photo salute, my nigga, salute, my nigga. Like, how you take focus? I told him I'm motivated because of you, my nigga. Brothers and weapons, still got weapons on the street. And I never do my niggas like Bishop D. Rahim. Never mind, they don't believe. They under MC. You want to let that love go, so I let that love grow. My bed, that's a blood. So